You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Tomorrow, rain could be heavy at times. The low tonight 66, the high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a hump day edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 is the phone number for all the shows here at Tide 100.9. Download the app. You got the coaches show tonight out at Baumhower's Wings. Normally they bring a player over there with him. They haven't announced that yet, or I hadn't seen it, but Coach DeBoer will be there with Chris Stewart tonight. So I'm sure they'll be lining up early to get out to Baumhower's. There to hear what Coach has to say about not only the victory, but the upcoming game, the injury report, all the different things that happen in a Coach show will happen tonight out at Baumhower's. Pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. They bring you this 7 o'clock hour possible. You're going to build the 5-star backyard. Only one choice. That would be Yellowwood. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer that is closest to you. If you want to shoot us an email, you can do that at wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. We'd love to have your phone calls. Kind of a packed show today. We'll have Roman Harper at 7:30. Roman will probably be on the golf course getting a haircut as we have him on. And then in the second hour, Bill Cameron. A lot going on down in Auburn. Some interesting news coming out of there last night, too. So we'll talk about that. About Peyton Thorne and Venmo. That's kind of a crazy story there. But good morning, Chase. Good morning, Dad. How are you guys this morning?
We're doing okay. It's not I would call a great weekend of college football for the SEC. It's okay, but certainly there'll be weekends that'll be much, much better than this one, starting with Alabama and Wisconsin at 11 o'clock on Fox and ending up with Kent State in Tennessee. At 6:45 on the SEC Network, Tennessee's a 49-point favorite. And one thing you have to figure out when I try to figure out this blue plate is that the weather coming in, sometimes when teams have a big score, they can't reach a 49s or 50 because the weather is so bad. So you don't know about the weather, so the weather becomes a factor in gambling. I don't gamble, but I do try to do this blue plate. Now, of course, it's been a failure both 2 or 3 times. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. The Braves won 12-0 against the Nationals. Charlo Sanders is out 2 to 3 weeks. The line at Colorado State is 7. I'm sure that'll change now. He's out 2 to 3 weeks with an elbow or arm hurt. Bimbo, the bettors want some of their money back. Freeze has gone on two different networks and said something different with Thorne at Auburn about getting his money, wanting their money back because they didn't win. And Freeze has said in one particular case that he is going to stay with him. In another particular case, he's indicated that a change could be made. So you figure that out if you want to. Picking a team to be the blue plate for me has not been easy, continues not to be easy. I'm still starting to figure it out. We'll see what happens there. NCAA, of course, we're lawyering up now with former Michigan players that want to sue the NCAA for not getting the correct money when they should have gotten it. And so the lawyers are trying to make sure that that's a big deal there. So we'll see when we have Roman on. There's an article on AL.com if you like reading that. I don't. I just look at it, try to find something that he is glad he did not play for Nick Saban. And, of course, that would be the first question we're going to ask him to find out exactly why he said that, if he said that. Outside of that, we'll welcome your calls and try to talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about certain games that you think that I need to be as Blue Blades, you can do so. And we'll really have a show that's open to you as part of the time, and we welcome what you have to say. We besides the Alabama-Wisconsin game, I guess you'd say the better games, or I guess you'd say Boston College and Missouri were gone to 17 points now. A&M in Florida is very, very interesting. 4.5 Florida's way. I guess the home field advantage is there. Kind of an interesting game to me would be a team that talks a lot but doesn't do much is UAB at Arkansas. They own the Arkansas coach because they didn't put out something like 23 and a half, 24, whatever it is in that game. The rest of them, Georgia, Kentucky, you would think that game because if you go back and look at past games, and Kentucky has a past Georgia quarterback. You think about the first weekend's games, you don't really put a big fork in that game because of the way South Carolina treated them. But South Carolina's a little bit of a shock, maybe being a 7-point favorite at home against LSU. I think it's better defensively, but I think South Carolina's better as well. So it's a pretty confusing time. Ole Miss and Wake is a confusing game. 23.5 points there. I think Wake Forest coach is a good coach. Ole Miss usually has a big score. They have a hard time getting to that, but they get to that pretty good score. And the storm probably won't affect them. So we'll see. Anything else that I can think of? Pretty much. CBS puts out top 10. Whether that means anything or not, it doesn't. Georgia and Texas are 1 and 2. Alabama, as the present, is 4. If you're interested in stuff like that, Ole Miss is 5. Tennessee 7, and Missouri is 12. So those are some of the SEC seems to have I don't really know how good college football is. Barry can make a comment if he wants to make on that. I think it's okay. I don't know. It's just dominating quite like it has been, even though we have the transfer portal coming in and people are unsure how to get. The gamblers are unsure at times how to bet because they're not sure who's coming in, who's going out, those kinds of things. Unless they go behind the lines. Most of your big gamblers do that. They go behind the lines and find everything they possibly can to make those bets. And Vegas does too. That's it.
I think 5 years ago, I think Nick Saban was kind of tired of playing the directional schools, felt like they needed to upgrade their schedule, and that's when they decided to play Wisconsin home and home. Wisconsin was coming off a Rose Bowl. 2 years before that, they were 13-1. They ended in the Orange Bowl. They had won at least 10 games in 5 of the 6 years leading up to the contract being signed. And since then, the Badgers have won only 7.6 games a year in the non-COVID seasons that followed those years. So I think when they scheduled this, they hoped it was going to be a marquee matchup. It doesn't really look like it is.
Are they coming back to Alabama next year?
Yes, I think it's next year. I know they obviously come out check about next year. So if you want to, people say, well, don't compare scores. Wisconsin knocked off Western Michigan. They beat them 28-14. Who else has Western Michigan played? They played Ohio State and they lost 56-0. Wisconsin beat South Dakota 27-13. South Dakota's other opponent is Northern State, which is not Division I, and they beat those guys 45-3. So I think that when this game was put together 5 years ago, it thought it was going to be a top 10 matchup. They're playing it at the noon Fox game is supposed to be their big game, but you're right, there are no big games. Florida and Texas A&M, you would have thought before the season maybe would be a big game, and neither one of those teams are ranked.
Losers out.
So maybe I don't know that this. this game, I looked on Ticketmaster, StubHub yesterday, and the tickets weren't that bad. So maybe this game doesn't have the buzz that they thought that it was going to have when they scheduled it 5 years ago. The line's 16. Alabama could possibly go. If you compare the scores, which you get in trouble when you do that, is Alabama going to go in there and blow this team out?
I don't think they're going to blow them out. I don't think they will. I think if they do, it will be a hard process. The whole deal is centered around one player and getting him. I know the running backs at Alabama are better than they've shown. They haven't had show much, but I think they have schemed against Alabama the entire 3 weeks that they're getting ready for them, and I think they got a good coaching staff. With the home field advantage, the home field advantage is there to some degree to keep them playing hard. 17, 16 points, you said. Now, I would think I had thought when I talked with you 2 days ago, we were trying to talk about the show. I said something about, you said something to me about it being 15 and a half, and I thought, boy, that's a lot. But I just don't know. It's hard. I'm not going to fool the game as far as blue play. Of course, I don't blue play Alabama anyway. But I don't know, Barry. It's they've been good and bad. So as far as Wisconsin.
Yeah, I just don't think they're. I mean, Alabama. But I don't think 5 years ago they knew it was going to be a 12-team playoff
Probably
either.
Not. Coach Bryant, man, when they were scheduling, I know he did a lot of stuff with friends sometimes, but they would go because Coach Bryant was the athletic director, and he'd tell whoever he wanted to tell, try to schedule the game. They'd go 7 years in advance at times. They were really a long way with non-conference games. So of course, didn't have but 10 teams in the league. And back then, and now we're already gone to 16. So.
Yeah, I know Greg Byrne and Nick Saban. There's a strong emphasis to put some get away from the neutral games and play some home and homes with some big teams, and so that's what they're doing. They thought this would be maybe bigger. We'll see what happens on Saturday. Maybe it ended up being a great game. I do think it'll be a good environment there if Wisconsin can do their part.
It's a Georgia game, and I'm not jumping over anything. Just talk. Is the Georgia game coming down to just a humongous game like I thought it was before? Or am I wrong? Is it a whole hum game now? Is it going to be just crazy that week?
It'll be crazy. Yeah, okay. Crazy. All right, yeah, definitely crazy. 2 Minute Truck out at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this a smooth Midwest local. Out of town, out of state, no problem. These guys will take great care of you and your stuff. They'll take the stress out of moving. 205-247-5050. That is 2 Men in a Truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Wednesday morning. A school bus has been involved in a collision with another vehicle just before 7 this morning in Foster's. It happened at the four-way stop on US 11 in Foster's. Witnesses at the scene report sheriff's deputies have requested extrication equipment be transported to the scene. There are injuries, but it's not known if they are on the bus or in the other vehicle. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news throughout the day. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. No fun on 359 right now as we've got double trouble. First on the northbound lanes at 2059. You got an accident blocking that left lane. Authorities all over it. And 359 again on the northbound lanes at 35th Street. Watch out for that crash. Smack dab in the center lane. It's also got the right lanes blocked, so you're going to have to make...
You're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today. Rain moving in by afternoon. The high 81. Becoming windy tonight. Cloudy with periods of rain. Maybe a few thunderstorms through tomorrow. Rain could be heavy at times. The low tonight 66. The high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
where the season never ends. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Yellowwood pressure treated pine from Great Southern. Always remember, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, to the Yellowwood hotline, get Pat in. Good morning, Pat.
Hey, Pat. Good morning, guys. Hey, y'all just brought up something that makes for a fine conversation this morning. Y'all were talking about players not getting the NIL money that they were promised. And I got a question. Unless you got a pope and 10 nuns witnessing the transaction or the supposedly transaction or the offer, that without a contract, and I think you're done. That because didn't that quarterback that you can't pronounce his name up at Tennessee supposedly got $4 million when he's still in high school? That's what I heard. I don't mean you hear all kinds of things.
$4 million in high school?
I mean, there was rumor out there he was getting $13 million to go to Tennessee.
About 13.
Yeah.
Rumor I have was $4 million.
Well,
but regardless at that time, he had never thrown a ball in college, nothing. But we do know that Quinn Evers took 7, maybe 8 figures from Ohio State University. Notice I did not say the Ohio State University, back to Texas, and never threw a ball.
Yeah,
we do know that.
Sure, you got
it. And so that these guys up there, I am a retired federal auditor, and because I sound country, don't mean I am. When they pulled off, most of the time I had a chain on me, but when they took the chain off, God help them, and I would volunteer my services with Tennessee or the Ohio State University, definitely Michigan, that to go in and only charge expenses. Like I think we had a president named George Washington that said, "I'll serve my country, and I cannot take money for it, but I only want you to cover my expense account," which I think had negligees, and Martha didn't wear negligees.
Pat, you also know that you're supposedly starting left tackle went to Iowa and took their money and never played and came back.
Yeah, well, it happens. It happens all across the board. But hey, I'm not auditing Alabama. I'd be happy to.
I'm just saying. I mean, we talk about Quentin Ewers doing it. Well, Caden Proctor went to Iowa, and Iowa let him have that kind of money. And I think they were going to give him. He took a couple of checks from Iowa before he came back.
Well, exactly. But the thing about it is, there's all this stuff. The majority of it was illegal because at the time you couldn't do that. It's only been made above board for a while. I mean, Texas, it ain't no time. Look at all the ones that left Texas. Undoubtedly, those boys' money dried up down there because they seem to all be at Ole Miss and Alabama. That defensive line that was so great at Texas A&M, is that not correct?
I did have the one kid leave A&M and went to Ole Miss. I think the best defensive lineman in the country.
Supposedly, hey, we wanted him in our class. Good Lord, did I follow that boy in recruiting?
Yeah.
And LT Overton was a number 6 player in the country, defensive lineman, and he's now in Tuscaloosa. And but back to there's still no. I don't think those boys have. If they didn't get their money up front, if they wasn't smart enough to get cash, that because the thing about it is, all these ones, including him, at $4 million, that hey, IRS ought to be on that boy in Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's a whole bunch of money.
I don't think they're getting all the. I don't think they're getting all the money up front. Well, you don't get your money. All your
Of course,
money
they're
up
not
front.
getting it up front.
No, not with the way things are now.
Well, hey, I mean, that's just like a Lamborghini. Now, we've seen pictures of the Lamborghinis in different places, and the insurance on a Lamborghini for a teenager would be somewhere in the vicinity of $3,000+ a month. That's $36,000 a year. Hey, but still, taxes, all this stuff requires taxes.
Well, hey, they're getting it. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah,
All right.
Y'all have a blessed one. It'll sure be fun. We'll see.
See ya. Thank you. All right, back up to the Yellowwood Harlan. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Barry. Hey, Coach. You know, you were talking about the draw on the Alabama-Wisconsin game, I believe, earlier.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, I was just talking about they scheduled it 5 years ago. And I think at that point, Wisconsin was, coming off of big-time bowl games, and they thought they were going to be much better, I think, as they,
Sure.
but you never know. So.
Right. But, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, LSU went to Wisconsin, and they were higher ranked, and like you say, they had just come off a Rose Bowl win.
Yeah.
And they went to Lambeau Field, and there was a good bit of excitement. But I've got friends that are Wisconsin fans, and I've been talking to them, and I said, it's too bad that they didn't let Alabama go to Lambeau Field. I said, hey, crazy. They can let everybody else go to Lambeau Field if they want to. We want Alabama in Madison. And, they're all fired up because Alabama's coming to Madison. And I know that ain't got anything to do, but I thought I'd pass that along, the difference between the two.
I just don't know that Alabama has, if you're going to play a doubleheader, where would you play where would you play your home game on a neutral field? You don't go to Birmingham, so there's nowhere for Alabama to take that game, So obviously Wisconsin's not going to give up a game in Camp Randall to go to Lambeau Field and then come back to Tuscaloosa.
Right. But I mean, that was the thing with LSU, and it was a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
I thought
they probably played the return game in New Orleans, I would guess, but I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think it's been a return game. I think COVID hit right after that, and everything got crazy, and then the reshuffling of the conference. But I wanted to bring something up, and I'll get out of the way. I know you got guests coming. Did you think it was funny about Peyton Thorne and the BMO article this morning?
Peyton Thorne, I guess he was on a podcast and said that he had a bunch of people that lost money were Venmoing him.
I know it is. I thought that was hilarious, and all I say to him is get a freaking sense of humor. That was funny. You can't reverse from DraftKings to Venmo. That ain't gonna happen. DraftKings take money in, not hand money out, and I got news from you. That's the funniest thing. I thought that they were hitting him on Venmo, wanting their money back. Do you think that's hilarious?
I just saw people, just absolutely crucifying him. I maybe I'm too sensitive. I feel sorry for these guys. I mean, they were crucifying him.
Well,
those 4 picks.
I'm not counting that. I'm talking about the jokesters.
But you got to understand, like those jokes.
You got to have a sense of humor about some of this.
But you got to, you better. But you also got to understand. I'm sure he got a lot of hate and direct messages and other things.
Oh yeah. I'm not discounting that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We talked about it yesterday about Commissioner Sankey and his comments about that kind of behavior. Attacking these youngsters about their play and all that. I get that. I got that down pat.
Yeah.
And but I thought it was funny that some of these Auburn people, said, I won't get my money back for what.
You know what I don't like now, Tom, is all these kids now just take online classes, most of them. They don't even go out on campus anymore. Everything's online. That's all they take is online.
Oh,
They don't even get out there anymore. And what are you really learning online? You ain't learning anything online.
Oh, I get it.
So,
it's a different world. That's for sure. See you.
Thank you, buddy. All right, we'll get to break here. We'll get Roman Harper in. when we get back from break. Listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. No fun on 359 right now as we've got double trouble. First on the northbound lanes at 2059. You got an accident blocking that left lane. Authorities all over it. And 359 again on the northbound lanes at 35th Street. Watch out for that crash. Smack dab in the center lane. It's also got the right lanes blocked, so you're going to have to make that far.
And when the power is out, you can too with Spire rebates up to $600 when you switch to natural gas. Learn more at spireenergy.com/reliable.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer closest to you. You're going to build the 5-star backyard, the fence, the deck, the pergola. If you want it to last, then there is only one choice. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer closest to you. And if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, we'll go right to the Yellowwood hotline. He's with SEC Network. Obviously played with the New Orleans Saints from Prattville, Alabama. Not sure how many people know that. Was a great player here at the University of Alabama. We always enjoy having Roman on. Roman Harper. Good morning, Roman. How are you, sir?
Roman. Good morning, fellas. How you guys?
Good.
Roman, do you have on plaid socks? Not right now, Coach. It's a little too early for all that. But yeah. I don't. So my dad never let me wear socks in the house growing up. If he ever caught me, it was like 10 push-ups on command.
Wow.
So, and then as I got older, it was 25.
Why is that?
And so I don't wear socks in the house, and it's just one of those things.
I've heard about letting you wear shoes in the house.
I don't believe in wearing a baseball cap in the house.
But why can't you wear socks in the house, Roman?
Because he was always like, especially back then, because we didn't even really do black socks. Everybody had white socks. So he was like, you make the white socks dirty. And since I buy your socks, I don't want them that dirty, so I have to wash them. So, take them off. And so, I don't know. It kind of didn't mess me up. I can't wear socks inside my own house.
You couldn't say, well, Dad, we should clean the floor a little better. I wouldn't have that.
Roman, there's an article on AL.com this morning. I don't know. I didn't look who wrote it. Why you're glad that you didn't play for Nick Saban. Is that a true article?
I think I saw that too.
Is that true?
Is that a true article, or is it a made-up article hunting something to write?
They're clearly trying to hunt something to write, but I am happy I didn't play for Nick Saban, though. I don't shy away from that.
Why?
Because my campus lifestyle was so good, and there's no way I would have had the same campus lifestyle if I had Nick. Nick was much harder. He ran a much tighter ship than what I had under Mike Shula and Dennis Franchione. So because of that reason. And it wasn't like, if I had Nick, I would have got drafted that much higher. And I mean, he likes to tell me I would have been a first rounder, not a second rounder. But for me, I'm pretty happy with my career and satisfied with it. So I'm not chasing anything else. So for me, I'm very happy I did not play for Nick because of my campus lifestyle.
Sure.
Because you got to go to the strip more, or what? What did you do?
Yes. Just straight up. Yes.
Yes.
During the week. On the week, yes. Period. Yes.
Well, that leads me to one of my questions. Now, Roman, back then people couldn't get to you. Now with social media, these guys can get right to them. Peyton Thorne's talking about he's getting Venmo requests because people lost money gambling on Auburn. We see some of these players here just get absolutely trashed on X. It's a different time. Do these universities, and I understand you're going to get some criticism, but some of the personal stuff is just out of line. Do these universities meet with these kids about how to handle this outside noise that's coming at programs like Alabama and Auburn?
Well, I think you should if you don't already. You got to be able to eliminate the outside distractions. You got to understand, this is just what it is. I mean, when I was still playing the NFL, we still had Twitter and Instagram, so people still could say what they want about you. You have to learn how to not – it's really hard, but I think you have to learn how to build a shell as a person, as an athlete, especially in college or in the NFL or any other profession, where you have to learn how to not be, like, controlled by the roar of the crowd, but then also the boos of the haters, if that makes you sense. Like, I can't just absorb all the love and then be down when I absorb the criticism. And so you got to be able to really and truthfully not really let either one of those things affect who you are as a person or what you're doing in your own human life. Like, you just have to learn to kind of shut that whole thing off. You can't get excited about it because, oh man, look how many followers or look how many people are, tweeting about me, all these other things. And you get this high or this euphoria and it makes you feel good because that's fake. It's not everlasting. It's not something you really want to try and involve yourself with full time to get all of your mental stimulation from that. Because if you do, then you're going to have that same type of effect, but in a negative way when it is negative. And you got to understand what sells nowadays is negativity. That's what's going to get the most clicks. That's what's going to get the thing that continues to pop up on your timeline or the negative things. And these people would probably in 85, 90-something% of the time would never say these things in front of you in your own face.
Yeah, that's probably, if you had all this back when you were at Alabama, they said, no wonder Roman didn't play well. He was at the booth or at Harry's bar on Wednesday night. That'd be all, but that'd be all out on social media where you were.
Exactly. And the thing is that the ones that knew. And that was the best thing about me and what I was doing.
Yeah.
Roman, how dangerous is this Wisconsin game for Alabama?
So I watched Wisconsin for a while last night. It's dangerous because it's on the road, and it's dangerous because Alabama really hasn't been in rhythm, and they haven't been able to find their way offensively the way that I'm sure that they anticipated or that I anticipated coming into the season. So for those reasons, that's why this game is dangerous. Now, when I look at Wisconsin as a whole, some of the things they do defensively, Alabama should have an advantage versus this secondary. Like, especially trying to attack their safeties with motions, shifts, and also having some kind of success at running the football as well, because Wisconsin, they don't have a lot of NFL-ready big-time guys up front. So, and they're also not as attacking style as what I would say a South Florida's defense is, where South Florida is going to do a lot of different things and be very, very aggressive up front defensively. That's going to make some things happen. So that puts a lot of pressure on your offensive line. An offensive line in Alabama that really has not played consistently well at all so far this year. A lot of penalties in the last game. On the other side of the football, Tyler Van Dyke, the quarterback from Miami, that's now the quarterback at Wisconsin. I think he's an adequate, good passer. But he is nowhere near the running quarterback that South Florida had this past week that gave Alabama all types of fits with stopping this run game with a little bit of spread, a whole bunch of quarterback runs. It's just really, really tough. And Alabama, and look, you guys, you've heard me say it all year long. I only care about three stats at Alabama. It's red zone defense, which they did extremely well in, forcing field goals and not allowing touchdowns, and then turnovers, which they which they didn't win that battle. So that's a question mark because they had put the ball on the ground way too many times on offense and in the return game. And then it's also third down conversion rate, which South Florida stayed ahead of the sticks and had long drives. So Alabama has to continue to improve if they want to win these games versus better opponents.
So you weren't impressed on either side of the football that much with Alabama in that past game?
No, I was actually more impressed. I'm still impressed with the defense because they're finding ways at times to carry this team. And that's not what I anticipated. And so when I'm seeing these things, I like what I'm seeing on the defensive side, but it still can be better is what I'm saying. You
talking about Alabama's defense?
Yes, sir.
Did you not think that South Florida had a lot of guys running wide open behind that secondary and the quarterback just missed, where these guys they're playing are going to miss those guys if that happens against these SEC teams?
It's weird. Like, that's how football is at times. Like, you can't really get caught up in the long foul balls and like, oh, man, Like, with foul balls is still a foul ball. Yeah, it got hit well, but it's a foul ball. And so, you could say the same thing about Alabama. The Wyan Williams had 4 shots down the field, and they're just barely off, or the DB's pulling on them. It's like these foul balls go either way. And so I try not to get so bogged down by that as far as I'm trying to grade the success of what I'm trying to look at on defense, because I am a DB. I understand what it's like. And so I can't get bogged down with like, oh, man, I almost was beat. If you start doing that, you'll never be good. It was a foul ball. It's a foul ball. You're not even thinking about it. It's on next play. And so maybe that's my own mindset. So, because I had to live that life for so long. But that's how I look at those situations and plays. That's kind of cooked into the game, guys. Is how I look at that.
Yeah.
Roman, do we have Georgia and Texas, and then 14 other teams that are just those 14, but Georgia and Texas are 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else?
I mean, I would allow you to have that opinion, Coach, but I wouldn't share the same opinion with you. I have question marks on Georgia. Okay. For me, the question mark on Georgia is, do they have another gear where, they're always able, like Clemson was never a threat to them. So like, can Georgia come out on fire and like really try and be aggressive? Or can they only just be Georgia, who's big and bad and the best team in the country? I get it. But at some point, you're going to play a game where you have to ratchet it up a little bit. You got to be able to go get 50 with some pressure on you, right? And not just allow our defense to allow our offense to go at their own pace and schedule. So I want to see, do they have that element of the game? For Texas, I didn't even think Michigan was good. I didn't think the game was going to be close. I said it during preseason. I think they're going to beat them by 14 to 20 points. I was correct about that. And so for Texas, I still have not drank the Kool-Aid because, and I told Sark this, I'm like, I'm hesitant on you guys. I'm waiting on 3 games. It's Oklahoma, who they lost 8 out of the last 10. You have Georgia at home, and then Texas A&M on the road. You tell me, I'll talk about Texas after those games.
Okay.
I'm drinking Texas Kool-Aid. I think they're going to be.
He likes the schedule.
I like their schedule.
Another team, the team that nobody's talking about who could definitely end up in Atlanta is Missouri. Yeah. Missouri hasn't lost as much as I thought they did on the defensive side, and their schedule sets up for them. Missouri's a team that nobody's talking about. And I think after this weekend, they're playing Boston College. This game, for me, is a huge game that I'm watching because this will determine how bullish I am on Missouri going to the SEC championship, just because their schedule allows them to be so successful, as long as they don't mess it up and stay healthy.
Roman, just give me your thoughts on what you've seen with Jalen Milroe in 2 games. 2 games. And if you were Wisconsin, I don't know if they had the ability to play like South Florida did. South Florida, they got to the quarterback pretty well. How would you defend Jalen Milroe if you were a defensive coordinator?
The biggest thing is I try and be patient. You got to understand they're going to want to run the football with the quarterback. And for me, I focus on Jalen Milroe because he's such a dynamic athlete. He runs and does these other things. But I'm trying to take advantage of this offensive line. This offensive line is kind of patched together right now. They're not blocking at an all-time high. The run game is sporadic. And I have to make Alabama go the long, hard way. And what do I mean by that? That is, I got to make them put together 8, 10, 12-play drives, which they haven't shown the ability to be able to do. They're a big play offense, which I like it. I like a big play, aggressive offense. But it's the difference between living and dying by the 3 and just being a really good 3-point shooting team. But, it's a difference. That is what Alabama looks like to me right now, a team that lives and dies by the 3, that they have to have the big play because they can't put together drives and be able to go and get you a layup or any of the other things. They only have the big play right now, which is good for offense, but that's not what you want to depend on solely as your offense.
Yeah.
This is kind of a weirdy question, maybe, but
no, not from you, Coach.
Well,
not a weird question
is the personality of the head coach, who is, I don't want to use the word laid back, but not emotional, not whatever. His personality. does that hurt some, you think, as you go through a tough season and a players are continuing to make not turnovers, or not block, or offside penalties, or being offsides? Is that then the coaching part? Does that be an effect on the Alabama players by not really worrying about too much about what they say? Am I?
Coach, I don't know because I'm not in that room, so it's really hard. Because usually, whenever you have a coach that's really laid back or doesn't use 4-letter choice words, you know, like you have somebody else on staff that does. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not just, oh, none of us use them. Nah, you usually got somebody to be that guy. Like you have to have it. You know, it's just like I'm not going to have all my players be on the all-SEC academic list. If you do that, I don't think you're going to win as many games. So I got to have a little mixture of both. And so you got to, who's going to be that fiery coach? Who's going to be the team or the player who's going to help our GPA out? Like, I think that matters for both sides. I can't worry about that because all he has done is won. So
I know.
And I know you know that too. But, you know, the corrections, like we saw something on Alabama sidelines for 17 years where you saw sometimes a headset was going to fly. You saw that you could read the lips, the dramatics, like all these things. And I think the board was mad. And some of these holding calls, and I don't want to get on radio and complain about referees. Terrible holding calls. Questionable at best. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Roman, I'm bothered by Hugh Freeze. He's really bothering me. Last year when they scored against California, he said, well, I made that call. He's an eye guy. So he comes out yesterday or 2 days ago and he says there was one play he thought was a bad call by the coaching staff in the Cal game. He says he thought the rest of the plays were there to be had, citing a lack of execution. Now, I like head coaches to get up there and take responsibility for the losses. Then they give the credit to the players and the assistant coaches when they win. Hugh Freeze is the exact opposite, in my opinion. He never takes blame for anything. Does that?
No, the best example of that was last year in the bowl game. They looked terrible.
Yeah, he said he was recruiting.
I didn't have nothing to do with the game plan.
Does that bother you as a player and as assistant coach that works for him? That, to me, would drive me insane.
It would drive me a little bit wild. It's more like sometimes as a coach, all you got, if you take all the blame, it takes the pressure and the blame off the players.
Yeah.
So the less blame that you take, it puts more emphasis and blame on the players. So you got to understand that, and you got to understand that sensitive point and who your players are. Like some players can take criticism better than others. Some players can't take it well. So for the quarterbacks and the players on offense that can't take the criticism well, as a coach, I need to recognize that, and I need to blame myself a lot more. And so, and it's the same way. I loved it. Well, I didn't love it because I didn't always believe it. But a coach would come in like, guys, that's my fault. Like, I got to have us better prepared.
Yeah.
I got to have this, this, and this. Like, and like, I understand that. I appreciate that. But then at the same time, I'm like, Coach, you didn't miss that tackle. Or, Coach, you didn't drop that pass. So, or not get that block. So it's a little bit of gamesmanship in that. I think you could have definitely done a better job with that, especially because, I mean, you got to think about it. The Auburn fans were out for blood after that game. Like, they were pitchfork mad at somebody. And, you know, it's just easy to throw Peyton Thorne under the bus because of the interceptions. You immediately look up and say, oh, he was terrible. But in all honesty, I thought Cal's quarterback outdueled him, and that he threw one interception because he was trying to hurry it up and it got tipped. And it's just, you know, it wasn't always the best decision. I think my advice for Peyton Thorne would be, hey, look, I know you got a really smart head coach that thinks he's an offensive genius, and maybe he is. But at the same time, when you have these type of coaches, they want to have their thumb on the dial all the time. And you are still the one that has to play the game. So if you don't feel comfortable, you ain't got to make that throw. Like, you're still the one that has to get us in and out of trouble. You still have to be the point guard And I know the coach called the play, but, man, the play ain't there, so don't force it. And so that's what he has to learn, the comfortability to be able to do that. And most people anticipated him being that person or being better because he's in the second year. But it's also because it's Hugh Freeze' fault, too, because he didn't go to the transfer portal and bring in more competition.
But, you know, when Alabama would lose, that's when Nick Saban would take up for his players. When they were winning, he would bury them. And so I think those guys felt like he had their back. It's the exact opposite. Peyton Thorne's on fire, and Hugh Freeze throws gasoline on him, Roman.
Hey, it was no. I'm telling you, like I can't even really comment because it's like I agree. It was like, man, like these other times you're supposed to like be the guy that takes it all off on him. Hey, it's on me. It's on me. And that just did not happen. It didn't happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, we want to, Barrett, I want to thank you for being on because I know you got kids and all. Is it okay?
Oh, yeah, I made my son's lunch. I'm about to take him to school.
Is it okay if I get somewhere and criticize your golf game?
Coach, I mean, you better do it now because it's only getting better. That's all I'm saying.
You had a par?
It's only getting better.
Before you go, Roman, is Bryce Young bad, or does he not have anybody around him?
What's wrong with that?
I thought Bryce Young was going to be amazing. Has he just got bad players, or is he just not? What's wrong?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you the whole situation. All right, 2 years ago, I was off the Carolina Panthers bandwagon. I played here for 2 years. I live here, okay? I root for this team. And I was like, you know what? I'm off the bandwagon. They need to earn my fandom back. And then they drafted Bryce Young, and I feel like they just bought me off, right? So now I'm back in. I'm just like you guys. I'm ticked off. I don't know what's going on. It's frustrating, okay?
Yes.
And so I watch them, and it's the game. First of all, I thought they went in there with a lack of respect versus their opponent, okay? And you can't do that in the NFL. I don't care who you're playing. You got to have some type of respect for who you're going to be playing, especially with all I was hearing on the radio all week. Nobody thought a lot of people picked the Saints. Oh, the coach isn't that good. All these other things, right? And so I was happy New Orleans won for that reason. But you start the game off, your safety comes down on a tight end, and then you give up a deep post route. Now you got the crowd involved. Bryce throws the interception, his very first pass. He was off. All right. Then we come back. They go up 10-0. Then all of a sudden, something else happens, 17-0. You look up 20, 30 points, you're down, and the game is completely out of whack, and you have no answer for it. How are you trying to build this team? And because this team did not practice in preseason, how are we going to handle adversity? How are we going to handle in-game adjustment? Like all these little things that go into being a pro and getting the best out of yourself on a Sunday morning or Sunday during the day is like the things that you kind of got to get worked out in preseason. And because none of these guys really played in preseason, it's a brand new team. You also got guys straight out of free agency that are not just contributing on the team, but these dudes are starting. So I don't know how top and talented this team is. And Bryce has got to figure this thing out. If I'm Bryce, if I'm trying to give Bryce Young advice from Roman Harper, I'm telling you, I'm coming to the podium, and I'm getting out of my comfort zone. I'm saying a couple cuss words. I'm talking about how mad I am. Like nobody wants to see the cool, chill Bryce no more. Right. We want fire. We want fire. We want beating on your chest. We want the emotions of a quarterback that says, this will not be taken anymore. I need to get better. And like Hugh Freeze needs to do, take the blame first and then lead the army out there. You don't have to be the biggest guy to lead the strongest army. We saw that in Game of Thrones with a young man named Jon Snow.
Where are you guys going this weekend, Roman?
Gainesville, Florida.
Okay. Should be a good one.
Texas A&M.
And what about that game? Really? I've been looking at it. What about that game? 4.5.
Yeah, Texas A&M probably favored, but
4.5.
All I'm saying is this.
Take Florida.
Florida.
All I'm saying is this.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, I thought DJ Lagway was the most impressive quarterback I saw
like
last week in the SEC. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see because Napier's like, it's not a real quarterback competition.
Florida's getting 4.5 points.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love that. In the swamp, love it.
I like it, too. Yeah.
Well, he hadn't picked a game yet this year, Ron. He's missed every game, so he's looking for a winner.
He criticized all he wants to. He ain't no genius. He ain't no genius, right?
He's looking. Who? Me, I'm not, but he's looking for a winner.
Me. I was like, I'm actually doing pretty good on my college picks this year.
Are you? Well, he needs a pick.
I'm with Nick Saban. We're 0-2.
Nick Saban's horrible at picking games. Terrible.
Let me tell you why.
Then he talked about how great Auburn was, and then they went out and laid an egg too.
It's because he's overanalyzing.
Yes.
And he knows too many personal things.
That's right.
Like you got to throw all that out, and you got to zero it down. 18, 19, 21-year-old men.
That's right.
That are emotionally not stable all the time, and you have outside factors that you have to weigh at all times.
Yeah.
Like you got to understand that. And so that's why he's not going to be good at this picking thing.
No, he's not. Go put your socks on, Roman. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ron.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks for having me. We'll talk.
All right,
I texted him and thanked him.
Yeah. Huh?
I always text him and thank him.
Yeah, he's good. He's real good. All right, we'll take the break here. You're listening to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. It's just no fun outside right now. 359 is that's our child. On the northbound lanes, the on-ramp from 2059 completely blocked due to this crash. And then 359 northbound between 2059 and 35th Street. All lanes there are shut down. And then you've also got southbound Looky-Loo delays. And then over in Coaling, watch out for this accident, or Cottondale rather, 2059.
This value on trades in Alabama. Julio Jones Kia off Greensboro Ave. Stop in today or visit us online at buyfromjulio.com.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
News from the NFL, where Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin told reporters on Tuesday they're planning to once again start Justin Fields at quarterback this Sunday against the Broncos. Dolphins running back Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert both missing practice Tuesday with injuries. This ahead of their Thursday night game against Buffalo. In baseball games of note, the Braves crushed the Nationals 12-0. Atlanta's now back into a tie with the New York Mets for the last wildcard spot in the National League, with the Mets losing to the Blue Jays 6-2. Yankees were shut out by the Royals 5-0. Kansas City still is 3.5 back of Cleveland for the top spot in the AL Central, while the Yankees lead in the AL East is back down to just a half game on Baltimore. The Orioles gained ground with a 5-3 win over the Red Sox. Tigers roll over the Rockies 11-0. Detroit remains 3 back.
See if it makes sense for your business.
Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free demo of the Townsquare Business Management Platform. Visit townsquarelocal.com. That's townsquarelocal.com.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Kniffer. Andrew's my agent. Let him become yours out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 in Northport. You want to make sure you have enough insurance. You want to make sure if something goes wrong, you know exactly where to go. Well, Andrew and his staff are the people to help you do just all that. 205-722-9201. Look for home, life, auto, whatever you need. Andrew Kniffer, Allstate Insurance. All right, get to the Andrew Kniffer hotline. Go out to Skyland Boulevard and talk a little Tuscaloosa Toyota with Justin Troll. Good morning, Justin. How are you?
Hey, Justin. Man, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're good. We just talked to Roman Harper, and he said that Bryce Young's struggling over there with the Panthers right now, which I would have never thought. I thought Bryce Young would tear it up in the NFL. Hopefully he will. Hopefully he'll get through all that. But anyway, we want to talk a little cars. So tell us about what's going on with you guys out at Tuscaloosa Toyota.
Yeah, I was just walking through our used inventory yesterday. I sold a Jeep, and we sell everything, not just Toyotas, but man, over 150 cars to choose from. Prices as low as around the $10,000 mark, all the way up, with so many different models to choose from. So many different. I was looking at, just to mention one product, Nissan products that are 1 year old and would save you like $10,000 to $20,000 off the price of a new one. Infinities, things like that. People are looking to save the most money, and with certain models, the way they retain value and stuff in the first year, everybody knows the cost of ownership over a year. Some things depreciate more than others in that first year, and if you can catch one that's a year old, like an Infinity, Armadas, things like that, if you're interested in some big SUVs, I'm talking about things that would save you upwards of $20,000 off of a brand new one. So just so much inventory on the used car lot. If you are looking for something that's not new, that's the place to look. And here's the thing, Barry, we take every single car, and I think this is funny, but I this is how it works. I mean, we give our guys in the service department a blank check. They go through that car. If it needs tires, brake pads, it doesn't matter what it needs. They do it, and they get it done, and then it gets our lifetime warranty. Not just Toyotas, all of our used cars, lifetime warranty. So unlimited miles, unlimited time, as long as you own it. Peace of mind driving it off the lot with a ton of warranty.
Nice. You guys are one-stop shop there. Guy comes in, you guys can look for the best financing deals. Y'all got several different banks you work for, correct? And you guys will look for the best rates and all for someone when they come in to
absolutely.
purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 20-something lenders. We got about 6 guys that work in our finance department. They're phenomenal. They're working, they're working on deals where people's not there. They're working on, like me and you talk about every week, Barry. People get on TuscaloosaToyota.com. They get their financing in order. Just did it yesterday. With a person buying a 4Runner, putting a bunch of money down, wanting to go ahead and get his financing. So when he walks in the door this morning, all he's got to do is sign paperwork and the deal's done. So a lot of people like to get that, just like Walmart, or wherever. I mean, people like to shop Amazon. They like to get their stuff and have it ready. And so it's no different with us. You can go on TuscaloosaToyota.com, set your service up, buy a car, rent a car, and do everything. So everything is ready when you arrive. And that's what makes it easy. And then obviously, this, we say this every week, we price everything to sell, and that's what gets you a lot of business. And I think if the number looks right here as I'm looking at it, we've sold 81 cars in the first basically week of the month. So well off to a really, really, really good September, and it's because we price everything to get rid of it. We're not in love with any of them.
Yep. Dad, anything for Justin before we let him?
No, that's good stuff. I appreciate what he said. That's true.
Yeah, so you guys do a great job. Justin, any games you got your eye on this week? We're looking for a blue plate. You got any suggestions for Dad on the blue plate?
I don't know. I'll tell you, man, I know Wimp is frustrating because you study these things, and it's like this first 2 weeks. It's like these first 2 weeks, man, it's a lot of who would have thought that California would, because listeners want to talk about Alabama and Auburn, but who would have thought California would have traveled across the country and basically shut Hugh Freeze's offense down. I mean, I just, you just can't figure these games. I don't know how Wimp does it, and he may say I ain't no good at doing it, but I mean, he studies them, and if he can't figure it out, you definitely ain't going to get any information.
Roman Harper just nailed it. We talked about Nick Saban. He's not picking games good at all. He says, he knows too much, and he overanalyzes it. And so
I don't know if his teams are not as equipped early in the year, and these games are hard to pick because of that, and things will get. I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I feel for Wimp having to pick them.
Yeah, well, I got to give my mother-in-law a little shout out. Not only does she drive a great vehicle that you sold her now, but she did cook for Jenny and I once last week, and then she made Jack 2 big breakfast casseroles so he can freeze one. He's got one in his refrigerator. So I called and asked her to do that, and she got right on it. So she says I never brag on her, so I'm giving her a shout out right now for making Jack 2 casseroles to take care of him. So.
Well, hey, listen, I got to give her a shout out too. She's already sent me somebody she's told people about Highlander, and obviously the Highlander speaks for itself, but she's already got me talking with a lady that's interested in one based off the experience that she had, and I appreciate that. And I would stay in good graces with her if I were you, Barry.
Yeah, so that all goes back to Dad and I. So we're everything trickles back to us. So Dad bought the first car, and then we got everybody rolling out there. Well,
That's
Justin,
right. Got to get
big time. Who's Gordo got this weekend, tomorrow, Friday, whenever y'all play?
Gordo travels to Winfield. They're having a pretty good year. They're pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Justin, you guys have a great week, and we look forward to visiting with you next week.
Thanks.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you. All right, there's Justin Troll. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. All right, we'll get the break here. We'll get to Bill Cameron. We'll find out from Bill Cameron what's going on down on the plains, or the fans. What kind of frame of mind and did Bill Cameron send a Venmo request to Peyton Thorne? You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, all beefed up on 359, heading in that northbound direction at 2059. Now, no longer shut down, however, only one lane getting by, it looks like, and you got a major backup costing you a solid back to Hillcrest School Road. Southbound side is also very heavy as well. You also have an additional accident on 2059 in the southwest direction right there at 359, so that's the secondary problem. Now, over in Cottondale,
the Bucks got your back. Provided by Hartford Fire Insurance Company, not AARP or its affiliates. Individual savings vary. The Hartford pays a royalty fee to AARP, which is used for its general purposes. For information and restrictions, go to thehartford.com.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9, WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by Conecuh Sausage, a true Southern flavor since 1947, and the official smoked sausage of the Crimson Tide. Get some Conecuh Sausage now at ConecuhSausage.com. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. On yesterday's edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, we were joined by Alabama linebacker Jahad Campbell. What have you liked about your role in this defense?
Well, I would say it's more flexible and it's more, complex. You got different roles that you got to have more responsibility in. You got things that you have to take care of more, and you got to hold yourself accountable. And for me, I got to make sure I'm making sure I'm in my playbook. I'm knowing my calls. I'm knowing my checks. That I could give to myself, but not only myself, but the D line, the safeties. And just really just communicating with everybody. And I mean, at the end of the day, everybody just doing their job and executing. So we could get a 3 and out and get off the field.
I'll have more in a moment.
Favorite jeans, favorite shirt. Got Conecuh sausage and I'm firing it up. Yeah, everybody knows it's how I get my grill on. You can smell that flavor up and down the road. It's a little taste of heaven, and everybody knows. That's how I get my grill on. Conecuh sausage. It's just a little taste of heaven.
Join us tonight for Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show starting at 6 p.m. from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. You can listen to Hey Coach across our radio network, the Varsity Network app, as well as the video stream on all Alabama Athletics social media platforms. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Conecuh Sausage. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Get right up to the Yellowwood Hotline. These are ESPN 106.7, The Drive. Down in Auburn, Opelika. I'm sure he's had some hot callers here the last few days. Bill Cameron. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Barry. Well, yeah, it's been a little lively.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dad.
Well, you want to go ahead. Go ahead. You want to ask the question?
Well, I just, normally, Bill, and I've talked to you about this before, head coaches take responsibility. And it seemed like, Peyton Thorne had a bad game. But when your head coach comes out and says, well, we only made one bad play call and the rest of them, it was more execution. To me, you take a guy who's on fire and you throw gasoline on him instead of maybe saying, hey, I got to do a better job of preparing him, whether you believe it or not. I think you help your quarterback a little bit when you maybe take the blame in the media. I don't see that from Hugh Freeze. Am I wrong about that?
Well, he did say that. I mean, he first said that they've got to do a better job of coaching them, but then he turned around and said that. So, I mean, he's saying both at the same time, and you're right. I mean, that's something that everybody goes, well, really, even if he did. So yeah, that is something that Hugh has done a few times, but he did point some of the things out, and I mean, right after the ball game, that's the first thing he said was that they've got to do a better job, and he talked about simplifying to try to make it easier for the quarterbacks. But yeah, that's something that you're not you're never thrilled to hear the coach looking like he's tossing somebody under the bus.
Yeah.
Did the transfer portal sort of fail for them? They've got money. You take a guy who's been somewhere for 3 years, and there were, I thought, more quarterbacks than he out. Of course, that's hindsight now, but did the transfer portal sort of slip on them? I know they've done a good job recruiting. The defense maybe wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but did they slip up on that?
Well, I mean, that's something that everybody's going to wonder about from now on. I mean, I don't know exactly what was inside the head, but I really do think that Hugh Freeze and the staff felt like if they improve the talent around Peyton Thorne, that they'd see the Peyton Thorne that was very efficient in his first year as a starter there at Michigan State. You look back and you see Michigan State had Kenneth Walker, they had Keon Coleman, they had three or four guys and skill players that are in the NFL right now, and felt like that he would really step up. The one thing that I don't doubt is that Peyton has been very impressive in practice. I mean, we've seen that when we've gone over to watch. Folks that have watched, gotten to see more practice than the media has, have said that Peyton's really been impressive in practice. And I think it was a calculation, and it looks like maybe that one hasn't worked. Now the big question is, do you go with Peyton Thorne again this Saturday? And if he plays well, does that really prove anything? Or are you still concerned that, I would think the next test is going to come. I mean, as far as if Peyton is going to be able to be your guy and be the guy that you thought, would be when SEC play next week. So that's the big question right now is, do you go with Peyton this week, or do you go with Hank Brown, see how he does, and then have Peyton to fall back on? But yeah, it was a risk. It was a gamble they took. Yeah, I don't think that they were, completely zeroed out or anything as far as in the transfer portal. They went and got a few players that have definitely helped them defensively, and Keandre Lambert-Smith. I mean, the receivers that they added, but not adding a quarterback is something that Hugh Freeze was pretty adamant about. He thought that Peyton would be the man, and it sure didn't look like it Saturday.
Talk about the backup a minute, Bill. What do you guys know about him? And we may see him this week. It's a competition now. I feel bad if Peyton Thorne doesn't play well early. The Boo Birds will be coming out, so that guy's got to be ready because his time is probably coming here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think he'll get an opportunity to play some this week. And you're right, Barry. I mean, that's the thing. If Peyton is the starter Saturday, there'll probably be some reaction to that, some negative reaction to that right there. I wonder if it might not be better for Peyton, for everyone to put Hank out there first and see how things go, and then let Peyton come in and see how things go from there. So I mean, it's a pretty touchy situation. Hank's a guy that's got a really nice passer. He's got a little more gunslinger in him, and that may be something that Hugh Freeze has been expecting out of Peyton. I mean, Peyton at times looks like he wants to hold the ball a little longer and make sure his guys are coming open, and that can be a dangerous thing. That gives defenders the time to catch up. And Saturday we saw from our view, which we've talked about our view there from the end zone of the press box. It's not the greatest view, but boy, you can see receivers coming open at times, and there was quite a bit of that Saturday. And Peyton just either didn't see them or made the decision to throw the ball to some other players. That's one thing. Hank's got that a little more of that gunslinger mentality. The concern had been, Peyton is going to be more careful with the ball. He's not going to turn it over as much, but when you go out and have a 4-interception, probably should have been a 5-interception ball game like this past Saturday. I think you've got to give the other guy a shot and see how things go.
Yeah.
A couple of things. The defensive people, I think coaches are really, really good. I know Nick Saban believes in them too. And also, along with that, does the offensive line all surrounding the quarterback at Auburn, are they good, bad, or average?
I would say they're in the average to got a chance to be pretty good. What happened Saturday is the starting right tackle, Too Tall Miller, Xavier Miller, went down with an injury, tried to come back and play, could not go, and then the redshirt freshman who got his first start, Tyler Johnson at left tackle, he really struggled with the Cal pass rush. I mean, it was really tough. So Auburn had trouble at both tackles, and that's a big problem. The thing that was surprising was that Auburn didn't try to run the ball more. Auburn handed off to its running backs a total of 3 times in the first half. Jarquez Hunter gets 3 touches in the first half. That it was almost as though Auburn had so much success throwing the ball over the top, and knowing that Cal was going to play man, decided they wanted to throw the ball and not just throw intermediate, but just throw the ball deep. And when you're doing that, it takes more time. Auburn's offensive line didn't give Peyton Thorne time. That added to the problems that they had. But the interior, I think, is fine with Connor Lew at center and Jeremiah Wright at guard. As a matter of fact, what Auburn's done this week is they've taken Dylan Wade, who was a starter last year at left tackle. They've moved him into left guard, and I really liked what they were seeing from him at guard. But with Miller out, and he's probably going to be out for a few weeks with that hip issue, they've moved him to right tackle, and now are still wondering, working there at left tackle. Yesterday, when we got a chance to watch practice, Percy Lewis, who started the first game and struggled, the transfer from Mississippi State, he was back at first team with Johnson, who started last week running number 2. So they're still trying to patch up the offensive line some, but tackle was the problem this past week.
Bill, we're talking Bill Cameron, ESPN 106.7 The Drive down in Auburn, Opelika. After New Mexico, line's 28. You would think Auburn will win this game. Of course, college football, who knows? Then you got Arkansas, Oklahoma, probably 2 toss-up games there with those games being at Auburn. How big is this 3-game stretch? Not that Hugh Freeze is going to be let go or anything like that, but just for the morale around the program, the players inside that building, the fan base there. I think this is a critical 3-game stretch. They really need to almost get all 3 of these, but certainly 2 out of 3, because then the schedule really thickens with Georgia and Missouri on the road. This got to be a big 3-game stretch for this season, don't you think, Bill?
No, you're absolutely right. I think there were, everybody was already looking sort of toward Oklahoma, going, well, 4-0 going into Oklahoma, got a chance to be 5-0. Right now, they cannot afford. They've got to play well. New Mexico gave up 61 to Arizona, so Auburn should be able to win this ball game this week, regardless of who the quarterback is. That's why I'm going to be really interested to see how they do it, because if it's Peyton, he goes out and plays great, you still don't know how it's going to be in SEC play. But they've got the ability to win these ball games. It's not like Cal was more talented than Auburn this past week. It's a game where you look around and a lot of teams struggle. You've just got to win those ball games despite the struggles. Or if you do lose a ball game early, you've got to be able to bounce back from that. You're right, Barry. This is it's about as close to critical 3-game stretch as you would have, because they've got them all at Jordan-Hare.
Yeah, that.
Anything on the basketball front that we need to know about? I know Bruce made a lot of comments that people have criticized him for getting too political. I'm not into that, but anything else on the basketball front that we need to know about?
No, I haven't really heard a whole lot. I mean, they've liked the way everything has gone with the guys they brought in, or early on in workouts and things like that. Just glad that we've got a fun schedule here on tap, and I mean, we'll find out pretty soon when the season gets started what these guys are going to be like. I like that kind of challenge, just like Alabama had last year. When you've got some experience, good to be playing some teams like that. It should get you ready for the league. But no, so far I think everything's pretty much upbeat. As a matter of fact, I've had quite a few people the last few days saying, "Hey, when does basketball season start after that football performance on Saturday?"
Yeah. Just your thoughts about the SEC. Somebody got some really strong teams at the top. I was totally blown away by that South Carolina-Kentucky game. I watched South Carolina Old Dominion, and then not that South Carolina won, but just the way that they won. So it's really hard, to really know what you see one week. The next looks like Missouri, although they haven't been challenged. Tennessee looks to be good, but great win for Texas. Just your thoughts about the league.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen quite a few teams. Vandy looks a whole lot better. Arkansas, man, looked really good in the first half. Their offense, there's no question, is night and day much better than they were a year ago. But that's the thing about early in the season. Sometimes you see a game and you get an impression of a team. You're absolutely right. I don't know that anybody thought South Carolina had much of a chance, much less just to be able to dominate Kentucky and Lexington the way that they did. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing you're probably going to see some games again here over the next couple of weeks where you sure didn't expect to see something from a team because they've either played so well or struggled in a ball game. But I mean, that's just the way it is when you're playing 18 to 22-year-olds. They hear, they read, they know what everybody's saying about them. I think part of that goes into the way Auburn played this past week. I mean, a lot of the guys had to be feeling really good after that dominating performance against an outmatched, outmanned Alabama A&M team. So that's the fun thing about watching these from week to week is I think it's usually about a month into the season before you really know who everybody is. We've got a pretty good idea who the best teams are, but those next teams are the ones that I think they're the big questions about.
Yeah. Dad, anything else for Bill before we let him go?
No, I appreciate you being on, Bill. Thank you very much. No, not really.
Bill, what do you anticipate this weekend from Auburn? Who knows? Do you think this is a 28-point line there, which seems to be, I guess,
seems a lot.
It seems like a lot, but what do you anticipate happening?
I mean, just again, I don't think that the guys, we had a chance to talk to a few of the players yesterday, doesn't seem like they're really down. I mean, I think they want to prove that they're a little better. I think last week maybe they thought they'd just be able to walk out there and never going to show Cal exactly what they were. They've got the opportunity this week. I think a lot of folks are interested and want to see how that quarterback position rolls out this week. But I look for Auburn to run the ball a little more this week than they did. They didn't run it really, like I said, until the second half a week ago. Defense, I thought, played really well in the second half, and I think you're going to see more of that. New Mexico is going to be a challenge because of their quarterback, But Auburn should have enough weapons to win. I'm not sure about the 28, but I got a feeling they'll play pretty well.
You didn't send Peyton Thorne a Venmo request, did you, Bill?
No. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't care who it is. That's a little ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody where they can catch your show down there, Bill.
Yes, The Drive every day, each afternoon, 4 to 6 on ESPN 106.7. You can check us online at ESPNAU.com or go to RadioAlabama.net. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. All right, guys. Have a great week.
Thank you. There's Bill Cameron with ESPN 106.7. I'll just tell them about Bryant Bank, and then we'll take this break.
Well, Bryant Bank, locations in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, right below me in Birmingham. I've been trading with them now for a long time. You go in and you'll see not only a nice bank, but a banker who is interested in you and trying to get your business and keep your business, and also the people that surround your head man there are people that know the banking business, and they can do everything they possibly can to help you if you need help. You can bank around the clock, around online, which is very convenient for you. If problems come about with people trying to take money from any banks, Bryant Bank is on top of everything. So Bryant Bank's a very, very fine bank. I think that you'll find that they'll do everything they possibly can to do a good job with you as you come in, or even if you don't go in as much. So go by Bryant Bank and tell them you heard on Inside the Locker Room.
All right, phone lines will be open 205-342-9904. That's a Tide 100.9, 1230 AM, WTBC, the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, all beefed up on 359, heading in that northbound direction at 2059. Now, no longer shut down, however. Only one lane getting by, it looks like, and you got a major backup costing you a solid back to Hillcrest School Road. Southbound side is also very heavy as well. You also have an additional accident on 2059 in the southwest direction right there at 359, so that's the secondary problem. Now, over in Cottondale.
Brought to you by Fincher and Osmond. Fincher and Osmond carries artisan-created diamonds. And trust us, they are bigger than you expect. Visit www.fincherandosmond.com.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is...
Doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis. And visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today, rain moving in by afternoon, the high 81. Becoming windy tonight, cloudy with periods of rain, maybe a few thunderstorms through tomorrow. Rain could be heavy at times. The low tonight 66, the high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Need to know what's going on with the Crimson Tide? Then subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Right back to the Yellowwood Hotline, and we'll get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, guys. How you doing today?
Good, man. Okay. How are you?
Good. Hey, I'm fine. I got some numbers for you here.
Right.
Wisconsin averages 27 points a game. They give up 13. They average 203 yards passing, and they average rushing for 183. Alabama's hitting at 52 points a game. Alabama averages 230 yards passing, and the Crimson Tide rushes for 266 yards a game. Wisconsin's somewhat struggled a little bit with their two opponents. They have won, without being too close to the shade, but they haven't blown out their two opponents. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens Saturday morning. I hope that Alabama can continue to, play the defense they're playing along the line, because I think Wisconsin is going to try to establish a run. They've got a good running game. I don't know how effective they are passing. I think Vandermark may be, from a technical standpoint, a better passer than Brown, but I don't think he can run like Brown could.
Yeah, you got quarterback that's played a lot of football. He played at Miami, so he's a veteran guy. Obviously, they brought in a guy. I guess he's only going to have 1 year there. I get surprised these programs bring these guys in for 1 year. You spend all that time, and then boom, he's gone. But if you compare scores, which I know Dad says don't do it. They beat Western Michigan 28-14. Ohio State beats Western Michigan 56-0. Does that say anything to you, Philip, or is that just is what it is?
Well, we know Ohio State's
yeah.
loaded. We know that. Western Michigan probably should have actually. They probably should have beaten Wisconsin. Did you see that game?
I did not.
Well, they had a punting goof up there at the end, towards the end of the game, where a punt hit a Western Michigan player late in the game, and Wisconsin got it and scored. So that's how they sort of sealed that game up. But that was a game going into the last minutes.
Well, I think I don't know if you heard Roman Harper or not. I do feel like after listening to him that the defensive pressure that I thought that South Florida did a good job with will not be there as much for Wisconsin as I thought. And I know nothing, but I felt like I think he indicated that the defensive rush and the pressure that at times South Florida tried to put on him won't be as good. So that's a good part.
Right. The other day in the Auburn game, were y'all are having some TV difficulties? I know up there with your provider. Did y'all get to see that game?
I saw some of it. Yeah,
I did.
I was actually at Saban Field, watching inside the stadium, and my son had it on his phone, and on that last play where Auburn threw the interception, it looked like the Auburn receiver was pointing to his leg as if he had hurt his leg on the play before. And he was the guy that they threw the pass to that got picked off easily. The guy was not able to really run his route with any burst. And the ball just sat up in the air forever, and the guy easily intercepted it. To me, it looked like he was pointing to his leg for the sideline to see so that they could get in another receiver, but I don't think they had any timeouts.
Yeah, you had the other play there at the end where Peyton throws an interception in the end zone. They call pass interference, which wasn't. He runs the ball in, I think, on maybe the next play to give him a chance. But I just think that when the fans and the way Hugh Freeze handled that with the media, with the quarterback situation, the fans are so negative. I think they put so much more pressure on this guy. Now he's going to play not to make a mistake because he feels like everybody's against him. I just don't see any way that he's going to play well under those conditions unless New Mexico's just really bad. Then you got Arkansas and Oklahoma, which there is no room for error in those games. So I don't think they know what to do quarterback-wise right now. And I don't think they've helped the situation either, Philip.
That's right. And it's a bad thing to be having quarterback questions and difficulties right now. I know we're just 2 games in, but from the football standpoint, it's a little bit too late in the season to be having those issues.
Well, not knowing, and then when you treat the guy like that, then everybody turns kind of against him, so they're just waiting on him to make more mistakes, and it's just hard for anybody to play under those circumstances, especially in this league. Now, maybe you can get by with it with New Mexico, but that problem will rear its head again here pretty soon, I'm sure.
Arizona, they scored a whole bunch of points against New Mexico. I think they scored something in the 60s, but I believe New Mexico scored about 35 points, if I'm not mistaken. So they can probably move the football on Auburn.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, a new coach and all that in there. So we'll see, but not a great weekend of games, to be quite honest with you. But we'll but we'll still enjoy it anyway. Thank you, Philip.
We sure will. Thank you, guys.
All right, let's look real quick down at these SEC games. We've talked a lot about Alabama, Wisconsin. Also at the same time on ABC is LSU, South Carolina, and I know game day will be there for that. LSU's 7-point favorite there. If they lose that game, LSU, there'll be a lot of grumbling there. So really both teams need this game. South Carolina 2-0. Your thoughts about that LSU, South Carolina game?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It's an interesting line to me. I'm not going to fool with it, but I think LSU is better defensively than they have been. I think they tackle better. I don't know about their alignments, and I think South Carolina is better too defensively. I think South Carolina played hard against a team that sort of gave up in Kentucky. When you got to the third quarter, they were kind of turned it in, but. I think it's going to be a hard game for South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think Nussmeier, whatever his name is, the quarterback, is good for LSU. I think everybody's taking South Carolina in the 7 because they're comparing the scores. And I think it's a dangerous game for South Carolina, even though there is no doubt a home field advantage for South Carolina. There's no doubt about that. And they'll play hard. They'll play hard the whole time. But LSU is talented, probably more talented. So I think it's if you're a gambler, I think it's a dangerous game to bet on. But but I mean everybody's going to jump on South Carolina and take the 7. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, other good. Well, this is a sneaky good game. It's at 11:45. Boston College, Bill O'Brien, off to a 2-0 start, and they're going to Missouri, and that line is 17.
Yeah.
Boston College just won at Florida State. That seems like a big number, so maybe you should still take Missouri when it doesn't look right there. But we'll learn a lot about Missouri this weekend, don't you think?
Missouri is really good defensively, boy. They are really good defense. Quarterback's not bad. He's not great, but he's not bad. And I think that's going to be a very. I think the games this week are, and I've studied them as much as I've studied any of them, trying to figure out, to try to get a win. I think they're hard to figure. I think the Wake game with Ole Miss is hard to figure. I think the weather can be involved in some of these games as far as the score is concerned, because of fields being wet or wind being, affecting the game. So the storm, from what I can gather, is coming in into Louisiana. It's going to enter into Louisiana and work its way up towards us. And so I think if you're a gambler and smarter than I have been, because I hadn't been very smart, you'll study the weather as much as anything.
Yeah, I don't know that when they choose these games, but the Boston College Missouri game to me should be the 2:30 game. The 2:30 game on ESPN's Tulane, Oklahoma. Oklahoma 13.5-point favorite there. ABC's 2:30 is Texas A&M, Florida. Then you got UAB, Arkansas, and then we talked about Ole Miss. You got UTSA takes on Texas. Won't be much of a game there. That line looks a little bit low, 35. Vanderbilt, Georgia State, Georgia, Kentucky at 6:30, and then New Mexico, Auburn, Toledo, Mississippi State, and then Kent State and Tennessee.
Well, a lot of people are looking at the Oklahoma thing because of the 2-point win against a bad Houston team. 13.5 points, I think, is that game now. And at home, I would imagine after that 2-point win that there was some gnashing of teeth and some tough practices trying to get themselves straightened out for this Tulane game. I have a little bit of a hard time. I know Abe came in and called Tulane and they won, beat the line. I have a hard time a little bit figuring out Tulane as to how good they are. But I do think that people look at the Oklahoma 2-point win. They're saying, it's going to be whatever,
I think a coaching staff would straighten some things out during the week. I have no idea about that. But
all right, so when are you doing the blue plate, tomorrow or Friday?
Friday. Everyone do it Friday.
All right, Fridays. That blue plate will be brought to you by Chuck Norwood and the RE/MAX Realty team there at Gulf Shores. Buy in or sell and contact Chuck Norwood and his staff at 251-948-1212. Serving the coast for over 33 years, and obviously experience counts. So go to chucknorwood.com, and Chuck was...
I'm sure I know he's been bad. I already got it.
But Chuck has a hard time picking Auburn. I think he did, so he was okay with that one, that he lost that one. So, but he needs a winner. All right, we'll take this break. We'll open the phone lines for another call on 205-342-9904, and then we'll get out of the way for the guru, the Gary Harris Show. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. Is the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Harris. Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. The Alabama football discussion continues to be hot and heavy as the Crimson Tide gets ready to take on the Wisconsin Badgers on Saturday morning at Camp Reynolds Stadium in Madison. We'll have the latest. Plus, you talk about hot. NASCAR is hot, and Matt Coulter picked a winner this past Sunday at Atlanta with Joey Logano, the NASCAR report. Plus, your phone calls. That's Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, still on lockdown on 359. Major accident on the northbound lanes, causing the shutdown between 2059 and 35th Street completely closed, and you will have to take those reroutes. Also moving over in the Brookwood area, 2059 on the southwest lanes at Cover Bridge Road. You do have this accident.
For you, call 800-8000 or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
In Birmingham, plus don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today, rain moving in by afternoon, the high 81. Becoming windy tonight, cloudy with periods of rain, maybe a few thunderstorms through tomorrow. Rain could be heavy at times. The low tonight 66, the high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
All right, that will do it for today's show. We'll have J.C. Sherbert will join us tomorrow at 7:30. We'll go through the SEC with J.C. Also take your phone calls. Plus, Coach DeBoer has his radio show tonight. So if anything comes out of that, we'll have those clips for you tomorrow morning. Stay tuned for the Gary Harris Show and keep it locked in. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.